Hello, everybody. We are back again with Laura Barrett, and this time she has a great topic to talk about Karakas. Karakas is the basic fundamental in astrology and mostly missed out by many. But having written a book on how to predict through Karakas, so she has an immense knowledge on this subject and very generously, willingly came on to this channel to talk about it. So over to you, Laura. What are you going to talk about today? Please do tell us in detail.
Okay, so there's a technique that is mentioned in Parashara. There's an entire chapter on it and some other sutras and other chapters about this technique, and it's called Ishtakashta Bala. And basically, what it is using planets as Karakas, not as house lords. You don't even consider houses in this technique for ascertaining if the Karaka will produce its significations. And so, every planet has a natural signification. Jupiter produces wealth and children. Mars produces your home and real estate, your siblings, your willpower. Venus produces, if you're a man, it produces the wife. It also can produce marriage for both sexes. Saturn will produce servants, people that you employ in your house, and your ability to withstand pain and depression or withstand adversities. So yeah, the sun will produce the government and the ruler of the country. The sun will also produce your power and authority and in the world. And then what else? Mercury will produce your friends. Mercury will produce your communication and your travel, short travels. So every planet or every graha has inherent significations. They're producers of something. And then what they produce, it's like, okay, so there's 3 tiers of prediction. You've got the planets, you've got the signs, and then you've got the houses. And the first tier of prediction, the first level, is the Karakas, or the planets, or the grahas as Karakas. And they don't even, not even considering the signs or the houses, they're up there in the sky, moving around, making aspects to each other and that type of thing. And they are, if, depending on how strong they are, how much power they have, it's like a factory. In the factory, you're making all types of gadgets, or you're making things in a factory. So if the Karaka is harmed or doesn't have enough power, then right out of the factory, it's going to be faulty. Or if you have a Karaka that's really robust and powerful, then what that planet makes in the factory is going to be strong. It's going to withstand a lot of, it can withstand
Pressure.
a lot. Right. So right out of the gate, you can look at the Karaka and see if it has power or if it doesn't have power. And then you have to bring in the factors of are these Karakas being helped by other planets? Are they being helped by gentle or benefic planets, or are they being harmed by malefic planets? So this is a really good technique. It's simple, but it's very good.
Okay, so we move on to. So why do you say that the foundation bhavas are 1, 4, 6, and 8?
Yes. So a planet in. So let's say, okay, for an example, let's say you have Jupiter. You want to look at Jupiter for children, and you're running Jupiter dasha, and you want to see how Jupiter will produce the children. So you look at Jupiter and any planets in the first or conjoined Jupiter in the same sign as Jupiter, in the fourth from Jupiter, in the sixth from Jupiter, or from the eighth, in the eighth from Jupiter. These are called foundational Bhavas, and they will help the planet. Any benefic planets in those positions will help Jupiter make its significations, will help Jupiter produce those significations. So yeah, those are foundational Bhavas, and this is found in Parasha. They will support or harm that Karaka. And you will look at this in the relevant Varga. So if you're looking for children for Jupiter, you're going to look in the Saptamsha or the D7, and that's for children. And if for a woman, if you want to produce the husband, you'll look at that in the Navamsha. And that's just one example. And then another example is the sun for career, because the sun gives you your power and influence in the world. So the sun, you would look at those houses from the sun in the Dashamsha or the D10. But so yeah, that's how that works.
Okay.
So here we go.
To Queen Elizabeth. So you say that she makes, her Venus gives a very beautiful example of good marriage. Yes, their marriage has withstood the test of time when, even in the royal family, marriages have been going, falling apart left, right, and center. To start with, her younger sister's marriage fell apart, but they have been through thick and thin together, and for so many long years, nearly 70 years. So how does that qualify? What you would say for that?
Okay, well, she's been, she was running Venus Dasha when she married him. She was running Venus in Vimshodari Dasha or Mahadasha. And this is also important too. You find there's a person's chart can qualify for several different dashas or nakshatra dashas, and you have to look at all of them. And let's say you want to predict for marriage. So marriage would be Venus for a man, but it can be Venus and Jupiter for a woman. So she was in Venus Mahadasha when she married Prince Philip. And she married him on November 20th, 1947. And so let's just move on to the next screen, and I'll show you. Okay, so 1947, November. She's in Venus Jupiter. Okay, so in this technique, we look at the benefic planets that help the Karaka, and the benefic planets are Jupiter, a waxing moon, Venus, Mercury if he's alone or with a benefic, and yeah, that's it pretty much. Okay. And so she was running Venus Jupiter, and in her Navamsha.
So this is the Navamsha, and just for records, Laura has a very unique and a very interesting way of analysis. She takes up the tropical zodiac and she applies the principle of the sidereal zodiac. That is, it's a combination of the Western and the Eastern, such that working on the Anayamsha of the tropical zodiac and applying the Vedic principles, Western zodiac, Eastern principles, is the merging of the East and the West. It's a very beautiful concept and gives glorious results. Again, Laura, so what do you have to teach in the Navamsha of Queen Elizabeth II of England?
Okay, so Okay, so she was running Venus Dasha when she married him. Obviously, Venus will usually produce a marriage in in uh, in a person's life when they're running the Venus Mahadasha. Now, how well will it produce that marriage and how good that marriage will be? You have to look at the condition of Venus. And if Venus is in occupying benefic bhavas, or like the fifth bhava, ninth bhava, you know, or any of the angles or the kendras, then that will produce a better marriage, a happier marriage, a longer lasting marriage. So you'll see in her chart here,
In the Dina.
in her Navamsha, it's in the fifth house. Venus is in the fifth from the ascendant in this Navamsha, so that is going to produce easily, readily, and a better marriage.
Hmm.
So she was running Venus Jupiter when she was married, and Jupiter is in one of the foundational bhavas. It's in the sixth. So, and Venus is very strong according to the Ishta Kashta Bala. Venus has 46 points. The most points you can get is 60. So Venus is very strong and supported by that Jupiter in the sixth. So you can predict, if you were going to look at this chart, you can say, okay, her married life will be long lasting. Her married life will support her and be very productive for both of them because it's in the fifth house. It's a very auspicious house. So yeah, that's she got married in Venus Jupiter, and you can see that. Also, you want to, when you do this technique, in addition to looking at the first, fourth, sixth, and eighth bhavas, you want to see if the graha is hemmed, meaning if there are malefics or benefics in the first and 12th, you know, in front and behind it, right? So
Paapkartari or punyakartari. Paapkartari or punyakartari. Yeah.
And if it's hemmed by malefics like Rahu or Mars or you know, Saturn, whatever, then that's going to reduce its power, and that's going to harm it a little bit. And if you're running, let's say you have Rahu in the second from Venus, when you run Venus Rahu, that's going to give some problems in the marriage or in your love life, generally speaking. But Rahu, you know, Venus Rahu is problematic anyway. You know, when you run Venus Rahu or Rahu Venus, that's kind of a difficult time in anybody's life. But especially if you see that in the Navamsha, if you see Venus in a sign, and then Rahu either in the second or the 12th, that's going to be kind of problematic. In contrast, if you have benefics, let's say you have, she doesn't have anything in here. She doesn't have any planets hemming Venus. But if you did, if she had Jupiter behind and Mercury in front, then that Venus would be definitely supported even more. So she could run Venus Mercury if Mercury was in Sagittarius or, you know, in the second from Venus, then you could predict that something great in her married life would happen then too. So that's how that works.
Okay. So it's fairly easy. And for those people who do not know about Ishtafala, Kashtafala, if you're using Jehora, Jehora also gives you Ishtafala, Kashtafala. Most of the softwares give it to you in a calculation which is easily available. So for you, if you do not know how to do the calculation of Ishtafala and Kashtafala in terms of Rupa, then you really do not need to be worried. It is available on the softwares. So we move on to the next chart of Bill Gates. So what are we going to see from Bill Gates' chart, Laura?
Okay, so here we're predicting, this is a man who just came from kind of a middle class background. and went on to become one of the richest, most successful men in the entire world by developing Microsoft. And we're looking at the time when Microsoft really took off, when he developed everything. So the first step is to see all of the nakshatra dashas that he qualifies for, and he's got Ashtodari, Shodashtodari, and Vimshodari.
Okay.
Now, so to predict a rise in career, we want to look at the sun, and for this technique, based on the Karakas. So he was running Sun Mahadasha and Ashtodari Dasha during this time of spectacular rise of Microsoft.
Correct.
Okay, so the sun.
So we move on to the D10 of Bill Gates, and what would you want to show us here?
Okay, so
Sun.
Let's get back here. Okay, since the career is being evaluated, we want to look at the D10. And in this, first we're going to look at what bhava the sun occupies. The sun occupies the first bhava. That's great. That's really good. Okay, that first 5, 9 is the best, and then 4th, 7th, 10th is secondarily better, or not better, but it's the second tier of a good placement for a sun in these Vargas. And the sun actually isn't that strong. It's only got 11 points of Ishta. And so now let's see here.
If you see the Mercury's got 40 points, and it is supporting, it's in the 8th, as you just taught us, from Sun. So
yes. Okay, so in November 20th, 1985, that's when Microsoft launched Windows, which is the operating system now for pretty much the entire world. And an incredible step forward, not only for Bill Gates, but for pretty much humanity. So at that time, he was running Sun Moon. And okay, so his sun is here in the ascendant, and then the moon is in the 11th house. Now, the moon isn't in a supporting house, but it is aspecting that sun. So the sun is a benefic for him. It's waxing. And in the Rashi,
the moon is in the 6th.
The moon is in the 6th. So the moon is in the 6th. It's a benefic moon. It's almost full, and in the 10th house of career, exactly from the ascendant. So yeah, this is very auspicious for him. You can really see, his sun wasn't that strong as far as Ishtakashta goes, but it was getting a lot of help from several planets. So,
and even Mercury was helping it and Moon was helping, both giving so much of Ishtafala onto, as you said, that 1, 4, 8, and 12 are the helping houses. So even he has Venus in the first, 6th house has Moon, and Mercury's in the 12th.
Yes. And another good to point out as well is because his sun is in Leo in the Dashamsha, so that's its natural place. It's Mula Trikona, its own sign. So he was going to do extremely well with this. Even though that sun's weak, he's still getting a lot of support from those other planets, those foundational supporting planets. So yes, and even when you look at Bill Gates' chart, there's so many things pointing towards success in Bill Gates' chart, if you use this, you can automatically see that this was going to be a very successful person, and then you just apply this technique in the different vargas, and you will actually see when that rise happens. And you have to use the conditional nakshatra dashas. In this case, he was running Ashtodari, I think. Yep, that's it.
So if somebody doesn't know how to use the other dashas, generally people only follow Vimshottari dashas. So if they do not know how to use the other dashas, is the system operatable?
Yes, well, if you have software there, it's going to calculate those nakshatra dashas for you. If you don't, I mean, it's all printed in Parashara if you want to calculate whether somebody qualifies for certain dashas or if they don't. And actually, I think the conditional nakshatra dashas based on certain conditions will actually tell you more about the person. They're all going to have an effect. If you qualify for other nakshatra dashas, they're all going to have an effect. I mean, you're gonna feel not just Vimshottari.
Right.
And
that's perfectly understood. Yes, I understand. But if a person does not know how to calculate the other dashas, or it's not possible for the person, then we can also, just by applying the Vimshottari dasha, which is the most used dasha, we can do this calculation, right? So this is an incentive to the readers to try and, to the audience to try and to work on these this method also, because just using the Karakas to predict is so elementary and yet so prosaic, so very profound, that you don't really need to venture into any other area. Just the Karaka and the Dasha system is enough to say that you're going to have a phenomenal rise in life. Anyway.
Right. Yes, you are. Yeah. If you don't have access to any of those things and you can't calculate those things, you can look at Vimshottari dasha or just look at the Karakas. If you have Karakas that are in problematic houses like the 8th house or the 12th house, then right away you can see that Karaka is going to have some problems, especially the 8th house. If you have a planet in the 8th house, there's going to be some problems with that planet, no matter what. I mean, no matter, it's good for astrologers. Thank God. If you're an astrologer, it's great, or a psychic or whatever, it's great to have 8th house planets. But if you're not, you're going to have it's faulty. They said it's the cavity, it's the flaw. That's what Parashara says. So if you have a planet in a problematic house, there's going to be some issues with it. But and somebody can see that right away. But if you see that planet, okay, so say you have Jupiter in the 8th house. You have Jupiter in the 8th house, but Jupiter is supported by other planets in the 1st, 6th, 8th, or the 1st, 4th, 6th, or 8th from it, then Jupiter will flourish if it has that support. So that's, a good thing. That's a really good thing to look at. You can see, and especially when you run those dashas, when you run the dasha or antardasa. So, yeah.
Thank you, Laura. It's an interesting concept, and we are not going to leave this here. That's just touching bases with the first 2 divisional charts of D9 and D10. There's much more to go on this, and we will keep coming back to you for more. Till we meet again, all of you out there, have a great time. Bye for now.
Yep, great time. Bye.